Bună dimineața și bun găsit la BU. Sunt Adina Vălean și vă invit să rămâneți alături de mine în următoarea jumătate de oră. Today here with me in the European Parliament are Adina Vălean. Thank you so much for your presence.
Hello.
You are the chair of the Committee.
Yes, I
Congratulations.
am. Newly elected.
Exactly. And Jerzy Buzek, thank you so much for your presence. You are the former chairman of the Committee.
That's right. Congratulations once again,
Oh, thank
Adina.
you very much.
Well, it's a great job, I can say. For 5 years I was involved, I have been involved in all the activities of each committee, enormous amount of activities, so you will have something to do in the next 5 years.
We will still cooperate since we are going to work together in the Industry Committee, and we will base a lot on the experience of the former Chairman and President Buzek to continue a very important work, especially for the Eastern Europe, I would say, which has more challenges than other parts of Europe in this area. Yeah.
Let's explain a little bit what was done until now in this area and what are the most important, most difficult issues to be dealt with.
Well, it is almost all the real economy in this committee, so responsibility is really very, very big, because except for agriculture and part of transport, everything, all the rest in the real economy is just in one committee. So starting from industry, small and medium business, all the innovations, research and innovations, energy and climate together, digital agenda, digital union, and space policy. So enormous amount of activities, even defense industry as a special piece of legislative proposals, Wi-Fi for Europeans. Well, number of legislative proposals is bigger than in any other committee, and we also had 7 legislative proposals for the budget, and we have finished all of them before the election, and it was Romanian presidency, as you know, very effective, I would like to say, first time in the history. So cooperation was very, very excellent. The same Austrian presidency or Bulgarian presidency 1 year ago. So altogether, we were responsible for many very important issues. In the future, I will say only one sentence: all the energy transition and digital union, to the most important issues, artificial intelligence. Madam Chair,
Yes, I know.
will be very interesting.
It will be very interesting, yes.
And a lot of different interests are involved in these areas. You will have to manage them. You will have to see exactly how to deal with the problems of the Eastern European countries, for example, as compared to those of the Western European countries.
Well, to manage various interests, it's natural in European politics, and we can see this everywhere. And it's natural and it's benefic, because then we can engage in discussions and gain experience about what is needed in various parts of Europe. Of course, for the future, as President Buzek said, to reconcile the climate and industrial policies, it will be the biggest challenge. Because we have seen there is a request generally from, I would say, more from Western European public for the European Union to do more on climate policies. I have my experience as former chair of the Environment Committee dealing with climate policies. We adopted a huge amount of legislation to set up the basis for climate and environment policies for the next decade. And now it's a provocation, a challenge for Industry Committee, together with what is going to be the proposal from the European Commission, to try to defend the industrial and economic competitiveness of our industry together with developing these climate policies. Because I have the theory, I don't know if maybe you agree with me, that the most effective actor in developing climate policies is the industry itself. So we need to work with the industry to make sustainability profitable, or else we will fail. We cannot shut down our economy in order to save the planet. We need the economy to be competitive. We need to have growth and jobs.
And we need time for it.
And for all these, I think the industrial policies, the economic policies developed by the Commission, the Council, and the Industry Committee in the Parliament are going to be determinant.
And I was saying we need some time in order to adapt to the new developments, let's say, at least in our countries.
Oh, that's right. First of all, implementation of all the legislative proposals are necessary. For example, electricity market, generally speaking, energy market, because as a matter of fact, we prepared all the legislative proposals. Maybe some in the gas market are still necessary, but it's not so much. And how to implement it is the same with digital union. For example, roaming issue, because it was our slogan, roam like home. So it means no roaming for any Europeans, but it's not implemented properly in all the member states. In some member states, is still some roaming necessary to pay. So many issues in front of us. But if we would like to say that is a proposal just lying on the table to be climate neutral, the whole European Union by 2050, well, very demanding, very challenging project, especially for Central Eastern Europe. It means neutrality from the point of view of emission of CO2, green gases emission. So it's not easy to fulfill, especially for our countries from our part of Europe. And we need something like fairness in such a transition. I proposed half a year ago, in the last term in office, just in each committee, just energy transition fund. 5 billion euro. For the beginning is not very much, but I wanted to have it in multi-annual financial budget for the whole European Union, and to repeat after 7 years and next 7 years, because we need money for transition, especially for coal regions, especially for coal regions, for 3-4 decades. So money are necessary, and I think it could be helpful for our citizens from coal regions, about 50 million of them in the whole European Union, 41 regions. And acceptance from the whole European Parliament just before election. Last plenary session before elections, the whole European Parliament accepted such a proposal. I think we will go in this direction.
We have to fight with the Council still, because the Council, the member states are at this stage a bit reluctant in giving this money. But as President Buzek was saying, the Just Transition Fund will be absolutely essential. Together with the Modernization Fund, which is foreseen in the ETS, which is the emission trading scheme, we put together Environment and ITRE Committee in last mandate, because we need the transition from coal to at least to gas in an accelerated form, or else we won't be able to cut emissions in a dramatic and responsible way. But for this transition not to impact the loss of jobs and then to change the technologies in the power plants is very expensive, so there is no incentive for our governments in the Eastern Europe, where we have so many things to invest in various areas. So we need European money in this, and my idea is, and I know that this is something we are going to support together, also to get European money in the Modernization Fund for this transition, to change the technology in the power plants from coal to gas. We have to have a very good financing of the Just Transition Fund proposed. It was the idea of Mr. Buzek in the parliament. It's true, and it's a very good one and absolutely needed. Or else we won't have acceptance. Let's remind ourselves in Romania when it was introduced the quota for renewables. People didn't say much at the beginning, but when they found on their bill, electricity bill, a supplementary cost, which was the subsidy for the wind electricity, they went in riots. They said, what is that? Why are we paying this? So there are difficult times for Eastern Europe in terms of we need to invest to grow our economies, and there are priorities for people, and to make it acceptable we need support of the European Union in financing this transition.
It's not as if we don't want to do the steps. We need some support in terms of money, in terms of time, in terms of knowledge maybe, because the Western European countries know how to do it compared to us, of course. What do you think, Mr. Buzek, should be done next here at the European level in order to stabilize somehow the situation?
Well, we need the support for European integration from all the Europeans. That's our expectation. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, we need to fulfill all the expectations of Paris Agreement, because we would like to survive on our planet.
We are far from there, yeah.
From one side, how to survive, because climate issue, warming, very, very dangerous. We feel it. Even personally, we can feel it, just at least till the summer. And on the other hand, to keep our citizens to be ready to support and to support, generally speaking, European integration. So that's a very good example. Just Transition Fund, to give a signal to 50 million of our citizens who are afraid, as a matter of fact, of energy transition and climate goals. Climate neutrality 2050, incredible. Sometimes they say unacceptable. But if we could show some money, specific money for such regions, for citizens, to create new industry, to revitalization of our cities in coal regions, for example, and to give new jobs for young generation, for example, in digital sector, instead of heavy industry, pollution, smog issue, very, very dangerous. And our citizens know 500,000, at least 400,000 people in Europe dies because of smog each year. So almost 500,000. So we should not neglect such a problem, but to give our citizens clear signal. Please support our goals and the European Union as a whole.
The first thing that a citizen is thinking about when hearing about modernization, digitalization and things like this is, okay, I'm losing my job. That's the first idea that comes in one's mind. So how can we explain, first of all, to the citizens that this shift is normal and it has to be done, first of all? And second, is it going to be about losing the jobs or transforming them?
Yeah, well, it's a legitimate question, but I think what we are going to propose, and this must to be reflected in the budget of the European Union, because if it's reflected in the budget, then people will have trust. If they see that the European Union is going to put on all the research and innovation fund, the promised money, it means that we are going to help. Or in COSME,
it's like a commitment, let's say.
Exactly, or in COSME, the program for small and and medium-sized enterprises, then people will understand that we are committed to support the jobs and the growth in the European Union. How is this going to be done and how sustainable this is going to be, this is a thing we need to explain. But I think it's our job as politicians to explain better. So we need commitments, we need to invest in infrastructure, or any investment we are doing with European money. It's trustful for people that by investing in, I don't know, in the infrastructure in energy, that means energy is going to be a big part. And of course, maybe not coal, it's going to be gas, but jobs are going to be there. Moving from one kind of fuel to another, but nevertheless jobs are not going to be lost. I'm saying this for our people back home in Romania because gas is a big opportunity. We are the fourth producer of gas in Europe at this stage. We discover new and new resources, and with our Connecting Europe facility, on which I was the first rapporteur on energy and telecom. Do you remember the beginning of our cooperation in ITRE committee? Then we put some money to connect the infrastructure, and by connecting the infrastructure we can connect to the global market so that we create regional hubs for the security of supply, but also for the market, which will provide a good source of energy, less pollutant, and with lower costs for the consumers, being private consumers or companies. So this is a plan, and we are working at it, and we are advanced on this plan. So people don't need to fear in this respect, and it's important for our country to develop this kind of policies, especially because it's a contribution clear we have towards the security of supply and lowering the energy costs and cutting the emissions for the entire Europe. And then are all the programs for young people who are looking for jobs. And I heard and I know that the next commission, hopefully an EPP commission, is going to be thinking also at social and labor instruments in order to cover all, maybe to reassure, I heard, the unemployment schemes, stuff like this. So to encourage companies to keep their force work, not to close down and lose skilled workers. So all these are various policies we are going to work on in the next mandate in the parliament, and I'm trustful that we'll be successful in the end. We have to be successful in the end.
Yeah, fortunately, people, citizens in Europe, they understand more and more how dangerous it is. Our current industrial or economic policy. And you remember very well, in mid-March this year, a very young girl, 14 years or 15 years young girl in Sweden, started a very important movement. So for young citizens, it's quite obvious that we are stealing them their future, as a matter of fact. And in 20, 30, 40 years, it will be very, very difficult because to stop emission is more or less 5-7 times less costly than adaptation if we don't stop it immediately, almost immediately. So the costs will be enormous in 30, 40, 50 years. It's their future, because they are 15, 18, 20 years old. So from this point of view, of course, parents and grandparents understand this is a whole issue as well. So from this point of view, we can say Europeans understand what is really true danger for all of us, but let us help in some parts of Europe much more than in the other, because we are on different level of development from this point of view.
In the end, Adina Vălean, what's your message as the chair of ITRE committee for our viewers?
Well, I was thinking to continue the idea of Mr. Buzek and say...
And the work
that,
also, yeah.
This transition is needed to a more sustainable environment, to tackle the climate change. But this transition will cost money, and for this to be paid, we need a real investment, and we need a real support to all the industrial policies and all the competitiveness of our industry, or else we won't find the money in order to pay for this transition. So this has to go hand in hand for a sustainable future. But right now we have to support the competitiveness of our economy so that we can pay for this sustainable future.
Congratulations, Madam Vălean, dear Adina. I'm quite sure it will be great time for you and for each committee and the European Parliament, at the end, Europeans. So all the best to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both for explaining all these important subjects to our viewers. Let's hope we will meet again soon in order to see what's to be done next for us, actually, for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Iar vouă celor de acasă vă spun să rămâneți pe Antena 3. Nu uitați că ne revedem și sâmbăta viitoare la BU. Cu bine!